The GRIDLIFE iRacers Winter Touring Car Classic enters its third of 8 rounds after opening with compelling and close racing at Monza and Watkins Glen. As more drivers earn points, they earn themselves a chance to win prizing from BC Racing and Recaro during their championship hunt. But tonight, we trade the vineyards of upstate New York for those just outside of Imola and get back to racing in iRacing. Hi, everybody. Kyle Heyer, joined by esteemed motorsports announcer Greg Creamer. Greg, welcome back. Round 3, this time back in Italy, for a bit of a different take on Italian motorsports' fast-flowing Imola circuit.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, you can never go to Italy enough. It offers so much, and this track is really a lot of fun. It's very challenging. It's got a checkered history, but it also has produced some absolutely fabulous racing over the years, and we expect to see that here. There's with the Variante Alta, the Acqua Minerale, the Variante Basso, which they've removed, and of course the now Variante Tamburillo. It presents lots of interesting little nuance, and I think we're going to see some fabulous racing. And it's nestled, as you said, in one of the great areas of Italy, in the northeast corner of Italy, or the northwest corner, excuse me. That's known not just for racing, but for automobile production, for wine, and for food. This is a destination in so many ways. I'm glad we're having some fun here.
Destination round number 3, and still plenty more to go this season. This is round 3 of 8. We approach our halfway point next week at Detroit Belle Isle. Really excited for that one as well. But first, Imola. We're going to head into qualifying here in just a moment. Quick note, though, Recaro has added prizing for the podium winners of each race. So from here on out, the podium winners in each feature race will earn some dollars to use for Recaro. So big thanks to them for putting that on. And again, BC Racing has offered season-end prizing for the championship winner, a set of coilovers from BC Racing. And if you're in the chat here on YouTube, you can participate in the trivia that will happen at the end of each session tonight and win yourself a chance to get some BC Racing swag sent to you. It sounds like the winners from last week are either currently being shipped their stuff or already got their stuff. So really exciting to have that. Thanks again to BC Racing and Recaro. Also, quick note, for the fuel for the heat races tonight, we had a couple drivers talking about how much fuel they needed. Well, a couple of them said about 4.23 gallons. They put it in the calculator. That's equivalent to 0.04 bathtubs, is what they were chatting about earlier. So, which is an interesting way to avoid using the metric system. But it's also 8 Mountain Dews, in case you were wondering.
Okay.
But I guess that's an interesting way to measure fuel consumption, that's for sure.
Exactly. And we don't know what size those Mountain Dews were, so that keeps it a little bit interesting here.
It does.
Hey, how about this? Mr. Matt Corrance, who's one of our front runners, in fact, our points leader, coming into this third round of the championship, out doing a little bit of qualifying.
Yeah, this is our points leader and the winner of the first round at Monza a couple weeks ago. So he's been very strong, but last week at Watkins Glen got caught up in quite the tussle with DJ Alessandrini. They couldn't get their horns unlocked there at the end, and that allowed Tom O'Gorman and Paul Darling to have a very spectacular battle all the way to the end. Both O'Gorman and Darling are here tonight, so we might get a rehash of that same thing from Watkins Glen.
We can only hope. It was some absolutely fierce racing, and it put on one heck of a show. And obviously, you can see this track. One of the things is it isn't necessarily as wide as what we had at Watkins Glen or maybe even Monza. It's a little bit narrower ribbon of asphalt, but that can just produce some pretty intense overtakes when the time comes.
And great scenery around here, as you mentioned earlier. This drop through this double right-hander here. Watch this. Sling the car over the curb on the right, then use the gravity to slow the car down, and then up under the Imola gantry there. What a great section of racetrack. High speed, high momentum, high downforce.
Yeah, Acqua Minerale, you're up on the southern end of the circuit, and making the run now down through the Variante Alta and heading into Ravazza. That's the exit of Variante Alta, and you can see it is a snug chicane, and it's this hard bending blast as you head down into Ravazza. Right at the end of it here, it just jukes to the right just a bit, and then you're laying on the binders for this double apex left-hander.
It has been a tight corner that has been a challenge in practice all week. The track limits here, as we were talking just before the broadcast, are pretty tight. So there is especially a challenge in that Variante Alta chicane, where if you cut the corner just a little bit too much, you'll find yourself in trouble. And we'll have a look at this here on the screen. If you take a look where the yellow marker is here, that black and yellow curb, this is off limits. You can't use that. If you get the center of the car straddled up over that curb too high, it will give you a slowdown penalty. You'll have to give up the time that you gained there, and sometimes the penalty is a lot worse than the crime.
And obviously that's a corner that's easy to overshoot, and as you point out, if you do that and truly shortcut it, you're going to suffer a pretty significant time penalty. And you were telling me off mic that that's something that needs to be served pretty quickly.
Yeah, it generally gives you about 30 seconds to serve the penalty. However, the longer you go without giving up that time, it will actually add time to your penalty in order to incentivize you to give it up sooner than later. So one of those reasons is because the start-finish line is less than 30 seconds after that chicane, so you could, in theory, gain an advantage by cutting that chicane and running away with it. Here's Austin Cobb with the number 36 heading down towards that chicane that we're mentioning here just a minute ago. Ryan Field currently on provisional pole, a 154.34. Again, almost 120 drivers attempting to qualify for the 60-driver heat field that we're going to whittle down to 40 here in the next couple minutes.
Here's that chicane, and looked like he did it beautifully right there. Got the tires right where he needed them, and is able now to just pick up the throttle and start that run down toward Ravazza, doing a superb job.
Yeah, a lot of practice went into this week. Tom O'Gorman described it as one of the hardest combinations that we've ever done in GRIDLIFE iRacers, and I don't think I expected that coming into this weekend. I didn't think it would be that big of a challenge in relation to some of the other things that we've done in the past, but people have said this is a tricky combination, not just to drive, but just to be fast, be consistent, and stay on course, especially during qualifying when even dipping a tire off can invalidate that time.
Watching Austin right now, that's through the start-finish straight, and now heading toward Tamburello, which is now Variante Tamburello when they put in the chicane. And looks like he's decided to park it here, but you can see the beginnings of that up ahead.
Here's Matt Waldbaum. Looks like he is also, well, is he still on pace? Yeah, he's slowing down just a little bit. He's finished up his laps as well. He'll pull off to the side. And almost all the drivers are done with their qualifying efforts here as we enter our third round here at the long form of the name here is the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari, which is quite the mouthful, and they shorten it to Imola to make our lives easier, Greg.
Exactly, and that, of course, is the region that it's in, the Emilia-Romagna region by Imola, Italy, right really close to Bologna, which is sort of the regional capital. It's a stunning area. It's absolutely beautiful. And here's a thought for you. It's a center for automobile production in Italy. Check this out. Ferrari in Modena nearby, Lamborghini, Maserati, Pagani, De Tomaso, Dallara, and Ducati, all produced and built in the Emilia-Romagna region. It is an automaker's heaven. There's no question.
So plenty of them, that's for sure. 45 seconds left here in qualifying. Alex Arteat is here in the number 77. This is one of the drivers involved in that turn one collision last week. On probation this week, Greg, which basically just means keep your nose clean this week best you can. Alex right now 17th, a great qualifying effort. One driver that we haven't seen qualify is Tom O'Gorman. Now, he had his simulator crash. The game closed out on him when he was making his first qualifying lap effort, and he's not going to be able to finish this lap, so he's going to have to start from the tail of his heat, and that's going to be a lot of fun, but probably very frustrating in a driver that would otherwise have been up front.
Yeah, absolutely. And he relishes the challenge, but not an unnecessary one. And I think that's going to be frustrating to him right now. How about Cobb, the only guy to dip into the 153s at a 153.94? That was a fabulous lap.
Really quick lap, and 53.9 is one of the fastest laps we've seen all week. But that should be a lot of fun to watch him fight through. Again, heat time. We're going to do a trivia question now, and we'll let Sean take care of that in the chat, so make sure that you're keeping an eye on YouTube chat. Again, if you're watching on Facebook or Twitch, head over to the YouTube chat to participate, and Sean will select a winner based on those questions. The first question is, Imola held one of two Italian Grand Prix each year until 2006. In what year did Formula One return to Imola circuit? Put your answers in the chat, and Sean will select them in the next couple of minutes as we get down to our first of two heat races. This is our inside or odd-numbered 30 drivers from our qualifying session. Tom O'Gorman is going to start way back in 25th for this. He has to get into that top 15.
He's got a challenge in front of him. We know he gets into this sort of scenario. It's going to be fun to watch, but boy, he's got some stout competition up at the sharp end of things in this field here. He's got work to do.
He certainly does. It'll be a lot of fun to watch him come from the tail of the field in that different liveried ASM car this week. That is the red base that I believe is run on Zach Lavoie's car in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, which Tom has been kind of running the gamut of the liveries from the Andy Smedegard livery last week to his personal livery the week prior. It's really cool to see them all run all the different variations and colors.
Absolutely it is. And I mean, it really brings home the hook of grid life. And I think that's really, really cool. And you can see on that start line, it's one of those starting position straights that curves around the back. So getting this one green, getting going is going to be really crucial. We're ready.
Time to go racing here from Imola. GRIDLIFE iRacers Winter Touring Car Classic. This is a heavy-hitting field. Cobb, Darling, Waldbaum, Alessandrini, and O'Gorman all in this one. Green flag flies. We're racing at Imola on the run down to turn 1.
Nice start by Cobb. Got it moving beautifully. Darling getting a little bit of a jump behind him, starting to fan out just a bit. And here's our first time through Variante Tamburello.
Oh, delicate moments here with cold tires and not a lot of room to work with. Clean so far through the first chicane. Watch the curbs there. They can send your car skyward if you're not too careful. O'Gorman's picked up a spot, and here he goes swinging to the outside. They're 3 abreast ahead of him on the run down to the next chicane here. Oh, this is dicey stuff here.
Yep, Variante Villeneuve, and it's just this little bit of a jink to the left, then to the right, and then down into Tosa Corner. And man, you've got to get out of Tosa. It's a crucial corner for the run all the way to Peritala. So, and this one, it is just a long arcing hairpin and a tap and a spin. Number 17 has gone around.
Troy Sharon.
Troy Sharon, yeah.
Well, look at this scrap. This is up for about the transfer spot. This is for 15th. Thomas Langui in the 34. That's the Hyundai just up the road. But look at this. A couple cars wide. Ryan Carwile on the outside looking in. Andrew Lanning and David McAllister all outside. And they will need to move up a couple spots to move into that transfer position of 15th or better.
And O'Gorman on the move up into the top 20 already as well. There he is. Keep an eye out for him. But, boy, this is a good-looking field. And this battle for this transfer spot, you just have a feeling it's going to be absolutely fierce, as it always is.
Up over the curbs through Variante Alta. And so far, so good. A couple cars did that side by side, which is a challenge in itself. Out front, it's still Austin Cobb and Paul Darling. And somehow, this heat ended up being the heaviest hitting. We got pretty much all of our top 5 in points, save for our points leader in this mess. And Waldbaum's off course. He's taking Jonathan Davis with him. They're off course in the last turn here.
Boy, and that hurts for Waldbaum, obviously, who is one of those drivers who we've seen some great pace out of, but he just seems to be a little bit snake bit. Problem there. Trying to get back to speed is Matt Mogensen, the Hyundai Elantra, and has it back and going. He may have a little damage, though.
Yeah, I think that was from a slowdown. Again, we mentioned the slowdown in Variante Alta is really aggressive, so he gave that time up. You see Ravi Managaran right behind him has a ton of nose damage on his Audi RS3, so he's been into the back of somebody or into a wall, and that is definitely going to hurt performance. And there is enough straight line here that will be a factor. If you damage the nose on your car, it's going to cause you a lot of pain as O'Gorman's off at the exit of Tamburello.
Big, long run out there. He gets through the gravel, comes back in. And Tom doing a nice job there, realized that there was traffic coming up behind him and faded back onto the grass so that he wouldn't disrupt anybody.
Did he get, yeah, he got into the
help.
Yeah, just a little bit of contact there. I can't decide if, I think he tags the 151 right there, just gets the rear quarter, and it turns the 151 of McAllister into him. But kept his foot in the throttle. He's back up to 21st, but has a little ways to go.
Yeah, he's got, he has to pass about 6-7 cars all over again here. It's still the 71 of Carwile on that transfer spot with Engel and then the 153 of Ty sitting in the next 2 spots trying to get through.
Yeah, Carwile's got about a 2-second gap at the moment. Tomo just picked up another one. Gil Winningham goes wide. That is the 811 car, and he's off in the gravel in his Hyundai Elantra. And here's Benson Ty and John Brandau. This is into Variante Alta. Very careful to stay between the white lines there.
Nice job by Ty, just threading that needle. And again, he's fighting to get into that transfer spot here. And he needed to make that pass and make it work. See if he can hang on to it here. Is obviously everybody behind him pretty fierce. He had to fade over a little bit to dissuade that attack and managed to make it stick.
Jason Nazario in the number 52. This is a driver that's brand new to the series here this week, running 19th after starting dead last. So plus 11, needs a few more to qualify in, but having a great run so far in his first round here in the Winter Touring Car Classic.
Yeah, that's impressive stuff, especially for somebody just coming into it here. And just has a read on things really, really well. Has that car working exceptionally well here. Oop, he just got, somebody just shot through.
That was O'Gorman.
That was Tomo again.
Just came way down the inside. And he might have to fight it out in the LCQ at this rate, but that'll be even. Yeah, they see just a big dive on the brakes, just could not get the car slowed down.
Yeah.
He's certainly having fun.
He has, yeah, that's for sure. But I wonder, obviously with his rig crashing, he a little bit behind in terms of laps driven here. Perhaps, so he's just trying to figure a way to counter it. Now he's got to do it again.
Has 5 minutes left, race is half over. And most of those spots are right in front of him. But the best thing you can do, even if you can't transfer in this race, finish as high as you can. That'll put you in the best possible spot for that last chance qualifier in which 10 drivers advance. But at that point, the best you can start is 30th. So you want to get in now if you can.
And unfortunately for the 153 of Ty, he has dropped back about 4 spots. He was up into that 17th spot. Now he's sitting in 20th. So he got freight trained somewhere, and it may have been in that big moment as we hop on board with him here. Ooh, there was a serious clock.
A couple drivers getting the fist taken to the jaw there through Minerale, or excuse me, Variante Alta.
Yeah, and that was Ty, one of them involved.
He will drop a couple spots. Paul Darling into second place now. Up front, it's Cobb, Darling, Savage, Alessandrini, and Blaze. And
big margin from Alessandrini to Blaze, isn't it? Almost 3 seconds.
Yeah, it is sizable. But back into the transfer, Carwile's got it. It's 3 seconds back to Ryan Ingle. So this one, not necessarily a nail-biter for that transfer spot, but everyone fighting for potentially a front row starting spot in the LCQ. That'll happen in just a little bit.
Yeah, and it's obviously important, but like you said, if you can't get to that transfer spot, don't throw away that 17th place finish or 16th place finish, because it gets you up front of that LCQ to start with. As we're back on, seeing what O'Gorman can do here in the last few laps. He's, 20th?
Yeah, P20 right now. He's got Ryan Finch to his outside in the 29, trying to make something happen here. Ooh, really dicey stuff. Watch that 57 is going to crowd back over. O'Gorman's got nowhere to go at the moment, and into Tossa they go again.
Let's see, he's going to try and thread that needle. No, decides the better of that. Tucks back down to the line. Now, here's that huge acceleration run up to Perotala.
Ooh, bit of a hip check there.
Exactly. Trying to make sure that he has the line. And as long as he gets pinched, well, that wasn't quite in the works.
No, that was that McAllister? No, that was Michael Bryant, which I think he just turned into him there, unfortunately, which... Yeah, that's a tough one there, Greg.
Yeah, I think, I don't know whether because of that previous side-to-side touch that Bryant took a little bit of offense and turned in a little aggressively. It was probably more just incidental, but it certainly cost O'Gorman in that one.
Certainly did. Looks like it'll be LCQ fighting for Tomo. Meanwhile, for third place is Emmett Savage and DJ Alessandrini. Actually, yes, it is Savage in the number 9, running the Hyundai Elantra. And Alessandrini, uncharacteristically, has not won a race yet in the WTCC. Typically, he's the winner in almost everything that we do, but this has proven to be a challenge. Kind of getting shuffled out of the mix at Monza here at Imola.
Absolutely. And now, he's moved up into third behind Savage. The other story that I've been watching is the 153 of Kai. He had dropped back outside into the 25th spot. And I believe now he has fought his way right back up into 17th or 18th. So he just refuses to go quietly here.
Yeah, right now in 19th position and fighting off Michael Bryant in that 57. Yeah, he's been up and down a little bit. That's an understatement for sure. 1 minute and 24 seconds left. We'll be coming to the white flag next time by. There is a scrap here for 12th. Thomas Langui in the 34. Ido Waxman in that gold number 10 Audi. And with drivers racing this close, the potential for disaster is high, and that could bring somebody else in. Ryan Ingles still 16th. Could he get in with the crash?
And obviously, you'd like to move up a spot or two. It improves your starting position, but you don't want to throw away a transfer. And you've got to believe they're aware of where they are as we ride on board with Ido. And sitting in that 13th spot, and he's right there, but he's not doing anything overly aggressive at this point. With less than a minute left to go in this race, I think he's playing it right.
So white flag next time by for the race leaders. And again, these drivers will be the ones that will start up front for our feature race. But all eyes are on that 15th position, which has changed hands. It was Ryan Carwile. He's moved forward. It's David Kramer now in the 53 who hangs on to that spot, and he started 12th, so he has slipped backwards 3 positions and is looking forward to seeing that checkered flag.
Yeah, and the good news for him, big margin back to Engel at this stage, so he's got lots of room. He just has to bring it home at this point, and he'll be fine.
Final lap here as we go back to 20th, and there's trouble. Michael Bryan is involved in a collision.
Oh, boy.
And
big one.
Yeah, that is a big crash, and that's going to be a car totaled. And this is not the first time that the 57 has been involved. Just is going to lose control here and swings back into traffic, collects the 6 car. And there will be a scarlet letter on the side of that 57 car by the end of the night, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, Atamo was caught up in that as well. So, yeah, tough day here for the number 57.
Whoa, we're getting really scrappy through Tossa, and one car, Langui, slides, and he gathers it back up with the front-wheel drive foot to the floor, but here comes Carwile. He wants 13th place.
Jukes over to the left, tries to drop the hammer and come back through. And again, it was a nice move there by Waxman, who, as that started to unfold, just checked up, didn't want any part of getting caught up in that.
All these drivers will transfer at the rate they're going, but they just got to make it back to the stripe. And that is not a given. We've seen drivers lose that opportunity a bunch of times this season. Don't race too hard, guys. You're in.
Carwile right in front. We're on board with Langille. Am I saying that one right?
I believe so. I haven't been corrected yet, so we'll roll with that.
And it's a great seat to be in here, to be watching from. Just bring it home, guys.
Out front, Austin Cobb in the number 36, and Paul Darling, who was second last week at Watkins Glen in the feature. He'll come home second in the first of 2 heats. Checkered flag, Cobb will start on pole tonight. Darling, Alessandrini Savage, and Marc-Antoine Blaise. And back to our transfer position. This is the battle for 13th, but David Kramer at the back of this shot will be the last driver automatically qualified in for the feature event.
He's having some fun just pulling a double draft there, but there it comes, and here are the guys that just missed it.
Benson Tai, one of them. He's got a good chance of making it in the LCQ with the pace that he's gotten. Certainly, Tom O'Gorman just needs some clear track. The pace is there, just the luck has not been.
Yeah, he's been able to work. I mean, look at that. He's back up to 21st at the finish after having been, 17th or 18th and back outside of almost to the back of the 20s. I mean, it was a yo-yo race for O'Gorman, but you can see the pace.
YouTube chat trivia time. If you're in the YouTube chat, time for question number 2. Drop your answers in the chat to get your chance to win some awesome BC Racing swag. When you search BC Racing on the internet, using the old Google or whatever browser of your choice, what's the hashtag that pops up alongside the website? Drop that hashtag in the chat for a chance to win some swag from BC Racing. And I got to say, Greg, they gave these guys a lot of stuff. There was a whole bunch of things in that package, and hats, T-shirts, stickers, all sorts of cool things. And the price for playing along, $0. You just got to answer what's that hashtag that pops up when you search BC Racing and their website. All right. Wow.
big kudos to BC for stepping up like that. Really, really cool of them.
It is really cool. And again, that's just for people hanging out in the chat with us. Don't need to participate. Don't need to have a sim rig. None of that stuff. That's all taken care of by Recaro, which will offer prizes for our feature race podium winners tonight. So that'll be fun as well. All right, Heat 1 out of the way. That was a wild one, especially towards the back. Now we're going to focus on Heat number 2. This one a little bit less stacked at the pointy end, Greg, but I think that'll make the feature or the feature transfer spot fight that much more interesting.
Absolutely, and it's no less critical, obviously, even though the other one may have been a little bit more stacked with the other people up in the points. But we've got some people in there, and let's not forget, one of the guys is the points leader, Matt Corrins. So we've got some serious talent in this one as well. And you're right, going back to that 15th and transfer spot, it's going to be no less fierce than any of the races we've had.
So Ryan Field will start us off in pole position tonight. Mark Sarchevitz in the 23 will start alongside. Then Matt Corrins, Chris Roberts, Austin Barnes, the rest of the top 5. Transfer spot right now is Max Bauman in the number 44. And with a beautiful BC Racing livery on that car. Nice. I don't know if he did that on purpose or not, but either way, that was excellent placement.
Yeah, teacher's pet.
It works. It works
and
on me,
why
Greg.
not? Absolutely, baby.
Makes my life really easy to put a camera on a car that is relevant in this case. But time to go racing. Red lights are on, waiting for them to go out. Ryan Field, Sarchevitz on the front row. 10 minutes rather. Green flag, we're racing.
Oh, look at that start by Corrins. He absolutely timed it to perfection, shot the gap, and a big move coming from deeper in the field as well. That front row was buried, Kyle.
Yeah, 4 wide right at the launch of the green flag. That was wild stuff. Now into Tamburello, 3 wide here. Dana Basinski in that ASM number 99. Tense, tight moments through the first couple corners. Basinski now in the transfer spot just like that as we head down to Villeneuve and Tossa.
Yeah, what a start by Roberts. He just came steaming up, was juked to the right and went by a number of people. 77, that's Arteat running just a little bit wide, gathered it up again.
Did a good job getting it back on course.
Yeah.
Drops to 13th. Dana Basinski still in that transfer spot, but here comes Val DiPietro. That's that yellow car on the inside, and he's now fallen in line.
And DiPietro is a scrapper. We have seen him really do some fierce racing, so he's not going to be shy at all here.
Now heading down the hill towards Akminerali. This is such a great area, section of racetrack now. And then before you head up to Variante Alta, but what a great set of corners that leads you up to a great passing zone. A couple cars getting tangled there. One of them is DiPietro, and Colin McHugh runs off course. He's in the fence.
Well, and that beautiful, that's a tough hit there. I wonder who he's voting for in the Super Bowl. But the really cool part about that Aqua Minerale is that turn 12, there's the compression at the bottom as you flick it right and then left coming out again. And it's just an exciting piece of track, and if you get it right through there, it's exhilarating.
A lot of flow to this racetrack, unlike Monza,
Yeah.
which tends to be that extremely fast, kind of start-stoppy sort of racetrack. This is a great flowing, sweeping racetrack that allows you to rely on that downforce that these TCR cars make with all the aero components. And Basinski gets by James Stacy as Stacy is serving a slowdown from that chicane. And will drop all the way out of the transfer spot. That's how important it is to stay between those lines and stay on course.
And talking about the flow, this is one of those tracks where they, when they put in the chicanes, the variantes, they did it without making them just with the, big lurid slide there off to the left.
Nick Nelson.
Able to save it, yeah.
Motul car.
Nice save.
Have a look, yeah. Let's see how he did it here on the brakes into the first corner. And does he get a hip check? No, just slides off course into the dirt and gathers it back up, but a bit of drama's there.
I think he just carried in a bit too much speed and then locked those rears up. But what I was saying is when they put in these chicanes here, they didn't make them the just stop and start type of chicane. They did them with some really nice flow. And it does the job of slowing the cars down, but you still get that rhythm to it as opposed to being what you talked about at Monza where you're going fast and you're just standing the car on its nose all the time. That's not that much fun. This is great.
Rob Clark in the number 46. That, I believe, is the Hyundai in front of that shot than Ryan Field. Or is that? Oh, no, that's the Lego colored car there. The multicolors, followed by Ryan Field. That's that orange Hyundai. Then Mark Sarchevitz, who started on that front row. He's dropped to 7th. And Jason Breen, Eric Pennington, all in this fight for 5th place right now.
Well, that's a really good scrap right there, looking at the number 46 of Clark, and he is under huge attack right now by the 31 of Field.
And Mark Sarchevitz, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Man, some drivers with their livery, some drivers go the legit route and make it look like their race car, and others do this.
That's a little different.
Yeah, it's different, all right. I know Zach Rubin, who was actually in this race, wanted to put his face on some GLTC cars and offer some dollars to his buddies. And I hope that we see that this season. It's all about having fun. Might as well.
Why not? Absolutely.
As long as it's not part of the required decal pack.
Yeah, exactly. He's currently running in the 11th spot, so solid for a transfer, and he's got some room behind him. A couple of seconds back to Arteat.
And Dana Basinski's had some trouble. Big slowdown for the 99.
Ooh, yeah.
And Michael Hergen is one of the drivers that drives by him. But let's see what happened to Dana if we can pick it up. Ooh, there was a crash behind him here. I think the slowdown came prior. Let's have a look on the run down to Tamburello. Oh, kind of got, it's interesting. It didn't look like he had to serve a slowdown. It didn't look like he had run extremely wide or anything, but just lost a whole bunch of momentum. Maybe he did get a slowdown. Didn't look like an aggressive cut.
He was forced onto that big curb you talked about that they were going to penalize. But if he didn't take it, there was going to be contact. So that was a tough one for him to swallow, I think.
Yeah, well, he's still 18th within striking distance. There's Michael Hergen in the number 58 Hyundai. And just up the road, here's Tim Saunders and Max Baumann. This is the battle for the transfer spot, 15th and 16th. Saunders is in the blue car to the inside, and you're going to back out, think better of it. He'll try again later.
Wow, great battling, and that was smart. There's still time left, and he's obviously got an opportunity here to do something with it and to just throw it in there and risk a wreck. Not the smart thing to do, so that was pretty savvy. As we're watching from Max Baumann's car, and Saunders coming up, closes up into the accordion under the brakes. Wow, right there.
Now in the slipstream, a lot of straightaway to use here. This straightaway, you're going to be ending going about 140 to 150 miles an hour. And at that speed, the slipstream is really effective. You see Saunders closing here. Sweeps to the left, and here comes that battle under fire.
Once again, for the transfer spot, side by side.
Who's later on the brakes? Looks like Baumann's going to be later on the brakes and tucks it in tight for Tamburello. He leaned on those binders, and look at him hopping the curbs through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, he absolutely did. He was loath to let him through, doing a superb job. And actually, he was so solid through there that he was able to build a gap of 3 car lengths. So we'll see whether that can be closed down again.
Saunders looks like the quicker of the 2 cars at the moment.
I would agree, yeah. And he's getting nice toes on all of these straight sections. So we'll see if he's able to do it again on board with Saunders here, looking at the back of Baumann.
Oh, right side tires in the grass. Heard him rumbling as they hit the grass. But leaves a little bit of room to the apex there, not right on the curbing. And then now down to, Akmanarali. This is, you could almost, I just heard the car bottom out. He's certainly on the limit here.
And there's the compression right there, which allows you to float a little bit more speed, just flick it left, because you're going to have a lot of weight on those fronts, so you can really get to the power early.
Oh, Baumann was better on the brakes, but he didn't slow down quite enough. And here comes Saunders now with a huge run on the exit of Variante Alta, and he should have him down into the final corners here.
Oh, he's not going quietly, though. They're side by side, but yeah, he should.
2 left-handers now to help out Saunders, but couldn't complete it. Baumann around the outside, so strong in that 44.
What a move around the outside, just floated a little bit more speed on the wider line.
2 minutes left. This will be the final lap. Well, next time by will be the final lap, it looks like. So they'll have 2 more to go.
Baumann and Sanders. Baumann, every time Sanders looks like he's going to get through, Baumann just finds something.
And this is why I love
Sanders a bit.
This is why I love this heat format, Greg, because typically you'd be focusing on the front of the field all night long, but we're looking at the battle for 15th place, and we'll be looking at the battle for 10th here shortly. I just love that we mix it up and we're watching other battles around the racetrack than just the ones up front.
Well, and it doesn't matter where you are in the field. You can, be in as absolutely fierce a dice back in the pack, especially for a transfer spot, as the guys running up front. It's just not for the win, which is obviously where you want to be, but it doesn't make the racing any less exciting or compelling, that's for sure.
Certainly does not.
We're seeing it played out right here.
A couple cars in the background to keep an eye on.
Herzen in particular.
Yeah, Herzen, Brent Schneekloth, Peter Zhang, all drivers that have competed at a high level recently, and Dana Baczynski. After that issue in Tamburello a couple laps ago, he just has not seemed to have the pace. And again, I'm not exactly sure. He might have gotten forced on there, Greg, but I wouldn't think that would slow him down much after. But he did just run his best lap. There's just not going to be enough pace to get back to 15th, I don't think.
Yeah, tough break, obviously. He does have some serious speed here, coming up on the back of the 55 of Crawford.
Acuity Civic. Talked about this paint scheme last week at Watkins Glen. Whoa, big slide. Getting the limit out of the grip from those tires through.
And that's what you call rotation right there.
Got plenty of it. Front wheel drive?
No worries.
White flag. This is for 3rd place. Anthony Montello in the white car. Austin Barnes in the 51 is in the blue.
Side by each. making this big run down to Tamburillo.
Oh, watch the curbs. Montello hops just a little bit and kind of gets shoved out a little bit wide there, but that'll allow Barnes through to third place. That's going to crush Montello's momentum, though, and that should bring in Clark, Sarchevas, and Breen.
Yeah, Montello was a little bit more gentlemanly maybe than he needed to be. Here we go again on this one.
Oh.
Outside move, and again, tell you what, Bauman is not to be denied.
He's been defending viciously. Watch that curb jump for the 44, and then watch this for the 48. Slams over those curbs, drags the side skirt across him. But, man, that is a harsh fight, but they're not done yet.
No, and I mean, it's just incredible how Bauman, when it looks like he's finally going to get taken, he just finds a way to stay up and in that position here. And
he hasn't had to get too creative with that defense, right? He hasn't been blocking. He's just been running his line and just out-driving Saunders in a different way. And Saunders is probably better on corner exit and through the corners, but Bauman's just so good on the brakes that Saunders can't complete a pass.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, the two of them racing like that side by side so much, Herzen, Schneekloff, and Zhang are all starting to close it up just a little bit. Yeah. So we may not be done with this this battle just yet, that's for sure.
Certainly limits your opportunity to be aggressive without a penalty. Just behind, here's Herzen and Schneekloff. For the leaders, last corner, Matt Corrence, checkered flag. Christopher Roberts right behind him in that number 8. Austin Barnes, Montello, and Clark, your top 5. The transfer position, though, Max Bauman has it right now. He needs to go 2 more corners and a straightaway to complete it.
He certainly will have earned it. There's no question of that, assuming that it stays for him. And it looks like that is indeed going to happen. But, man, he had to throw everything and the kitchen sink into his defense there.
And it worked.
He made it work.
He's through.
Wow.
He'll start back in 30th place. That's what he was fighting for. But you're in the race. That's all that matters at this point.
That's exactly.
Dana Baczynski and Mark Crawford will both have to start the LCQ and finish top 10. And the LCQ is shaping up to be a pretty strong, pretty stout group as well. With Tom O'Gorman back there, Dana Baczynski, Mark Crawford, Drew Cleaver, Nick Nelson. There's a lot of really good cars that will have to finish in that top 10. And when there's a lot of good cars going for very few good spots, Greg, it's going to get pretty dicey.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just saw that great high shot of the Aqua Minerale section of the racetrack and why it is just so fun.
So
there is that front straight. You can see that chicane just sort of centered, just slightly to the right. That's what the MotoGP and World Superbikes run.
You can actually run that layout here in iRacing. I didn't think we'd be that mean to everybody tonight. That's a pretty tough corner to make in any kind of car.
That would be torturously cruel.
Yes.
Good call.
So, Heat 2 is complete. It's trivia time in the YouTube chat. Sean's going to tee up the question. Trivia question number 3. What is the most GLTC races held on a single weekend? I'll help you out. The number we're supposed to run is 4. We've run less, we've run more. How many races have we run? We ran the most races in a weekend. Drop your answers in the YouTube chat. Sean will give away our BC Racing prizes. Time for the LCQ, Greg. This is a fun one, but only 10 move on. Only 10 transfer. Who's in 10th? Dana Baczynski. He starts alongside his ASM teammate, Tom O'Gorman.
Well, that's going to make this doubly fun, isn't it? Those two guys duking it out, but Engel just missed on the transfer, and of course Saunders, who was relentless in his attack, it just couldn't quite get it done. We'll start outside of that front row. Then Nazario and Schneekloff, Brandau and Herzen, and Ty. We're going to keep an eye on him. He was really racy.
This is probably going to be the most fierce and most aggressive LCQ that we've seen so far this season. Monza was fun, Watkins Glen was fun, but this one has got some heavy hitters in it and some players that I think need to be in the feature to really mix things up. So we'll see how this goes. Countdown is complete. Time to go racing. 10 minutes on the clock and only 10 transfer. Baczynski on up. Green flag, we're racing in the LCQ here at Imola. Great launch.
Nice start, yeah.
That was Nazario in the number 52. He gets away clean.
Tell you, these standing starts in front-wheel drive cars, not the easiest thing in the world, and they really did a nice job with it. Everybody threw that first tight bit right there, and O'Gorman, you can see him just, contact. That's going to help. 2 or 3 cars having problems.
Yeah, that was Brandau that's going to spin off to the side, and he was up front, but look at this mess. Tomo's through it. He's up into 8th place now, but there's still some carnage behind him. McAllister collected, and still all sorts of chaos heading into Tossa. This is going to be very dicey. O'Gorman stuck behind Schneekloth and Winningham, and Crawford is just behind in the transfer spot.
No, Gorman really, he tried to do the over and then come out low, really diamond the corner, and unfortunately Schneekloth was right where Tom wanted to exit the turn and sort of blunted his momentum. But now Tom down to the inside, and he's going to get through that position. Oh, a couple of guys way wide.
Yeah, Drew Cleaver and Ryan Perceau were one or two of them, and they just went for a vacation to the Italian countryside there. But they somehow made it back on course without any more dramas.
Saw a villa to their liking.
There's plenty of them around here, that's for sure. You can see them from the drone cameras.
Yeah, this is pretty spectacular countryside to be sure. Rivals Tuscany.
Have you been to Italy, Greg? I've never been.
I have. And I was there a few times when I was super young. And then a few years ago did some time in Venice. So, but, follow it a lot, obviously. Love the place.
One of those places on my bucket list for sure.
Oh, you gotta. And there's so much of Italy to see. That's the problem. There's coastal, and then there's the internal and the mountains and the Dolomites Mountains. It's just an amazing place.
Oh, the being squeezed here for second place. Benson Tai and Peter Zhang almost came together, and Michael Hershen's right in this mix now in the Gen Racer Hyundai. All for P2. This is fighting for 32nd and 33rd on the grid, but you'd think it'd be for the lead with how tough that was.
It's phenomenal. And how about Nazario's pace? Up the road by 4 seconds. He is just gone, which is going to make a lot of this. And, it's nice when you have a lead like this. You can drive really smoothly, conserve tires. And he's just got a fabulous rhythm going right now. There's O'Gorman now. And Tomo up into 4th. Oh, is that?
Yes. That's
that
Hershen.
is Hershen.
Yep. So he's found some trouble and will drop out of the top 10, and I think there was some contact here, so we'll have to go back a little further and investigate. Behind him was Peter Zhang in the number 12. And was there a touch here? No, I think he just got loose all on his own.
Yep.
And then rejoining. You see all the gravel on the tires here. Comes back on the racetrack and then tags a competitor. That was the 811 of Gil Winningham.
Then it looked like Hershen was having a problem finding reverse. I think he finally got it figured out.
21st place, damage is done, yep.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Another driver up front, Brent Schneekloth, turned around.
Oh, turns, yep.
This was
like we talked about, there are spots on this track where, like here, fairly good width, but in other areas, it races incredibly narrow. Oh, that's what he just hit that curb way too hard.
Yeah, not enough weight on those rear tires, just bounced around on him. Now down to 19th place, and there is some damage to that car, but I don't think it'll be terminal. But transfer position is now Ryan Finch in the number 29, 1.4 seconds back to Colin McHugh. And looks like Dana Baczynski and Tom O'Gorman are both solidly inside the top 10. Tomo still clawing his way forward. And this is all, again, for 31st starting spot if he can get all the way to Nazario by the end of this thing. So you're fighting tooth and nail for P30. This is what it's all about sometimes on these heat racing evenings.
Absolutely. We talked about how we thought Ty would be racing. Well, he's the one battling with O'Gorman right now. Ty trying to hang on to that second spot.
Oh, too much.
Race. Oh, he took the bait, I think. It's just a beautiful save, though.
Keeps it out of the wall.
That's big. And as a result, keeps it up into that top 5, sitting 4th right now. So that save was important.
Here's Dana Baczynski and Tim Saunders. Saunders just missed out on a transfer spot and is now fighting for another one here in the LCQ, and he's in, but trying to get a few more positions from Baczynski and Ryan Engel in the number 7, who just missed out in the first heat.
Well, when you're back in the deeper part of the top 10 in the transfers 10, any other position you could pick up, forget about starting better in the race if you make it, but you're giving yourself some padding just in case something goes wrong. Something like what happened to Ty there and you overshoot, you've got a little bit of room, makes a big difference.
So it seems like the battles have fizzled just a little bit amongst the rest of the field. They've kind of sorted themselves out, but O'Gorman is running down Nazario very quickly. And again, O'Gorman's got leading to third place pace in this field, but will start deep if he finishes out where he is now, 31st or 32nd. And that means the feature is going to be just as hard as his heat race was earlier. But he should be able to eclipse Nazario here in the next couple of minutes with the pace difference. Last lap was 2 seconds faster than the race leader.
Yeah, Tomo is hooked up. I think after that first race, he's a bit frustrated and has really put that red mist into a good focus and is showing some serious pace.
Well, that was what he said last week when we talked to him after his win at Watkins Glen. He said, iRacing, say what you will about it as a training tool, but he thinks that the biggest advantage it has is training yourself mentally and training yourself not to be frustrated was what he got the most out of this simulator. So I think this is going to be one of those nights that tests the patience a little bit, but this simulator, sometimes it's not fun, Greg. Sometimes it's too serious to be fun, but there is something to learn from this in terms of keeping your cool when things aren't going your way.
Oh, absolutely. Ooh, big lurid slide there by Engel, and that almost cost him a spot. But I think you're right. In this type of racing, you're going to get frustrated. That's just the nature of the beast. You're going to have it happen. So you better learn in a hurry just to get over it and deal with it. And that's going to transfer into every other aspect of your racing as well. So it definitely has that where you could just sort of take that frustration and just use it to focus as opposed to just over driving and making even more mistakes. If
you get in a crash, the crash is already over. You can't undo it, so it just turns into how do I not make this worse, and what's the best I can do with this situation. And for Tomo, it's turning around now after what I consider a really tough heat race. That was unlucky even by his standards for sim racing. So he'll have to start deep in the field, but sure, at some point it'll be fun for him to kind of claw through the field and make passes and feel like a Superman, but I'm sure he'd also like to be up front battling with the race winner, as he's going to do here in the LCQ. 2 minutes to go, 2 laps to go here, Greg.
Yeah, you were spot on. He closed up a 2-second gap pretty darn quickly here, all over the back of Nazario. And 2 laps to go, you think?
2 to go, 4:06, 2 minutes 11 seconds, lap time about 1:55. Passing under the gantry here, so we'll get 2 more revolutions around this circuit before it's over and before we turn over to our feature race event. But Nazario, again, we've been really impressed with his pace. Again, this is his first round ever here in the GRIDLIFE iRacers series, and he's got a stout ex-IMSA, ex-pro racer, Tom O'Gorman, and he's just going to lift there and let Tomo by. That was probably a smart call.
I think that's a very savvy call, because what he can do now, if he can stay with Tomo a little bit, is watch and say, okay, he's carrying a bit more speed here, and I might actually be a little bit better at this part of the corner. So going to school on a really fast driver is never a bad thing.
This is for the transfer spot. Colin McHugh is in 11th. He is out. The 3 ahead of him are in. So McHugh needs to pass one of these cars if he wants to move on to the feature. He has a lap and a half to do it, Greg, and he's got to get up on that wheel and make this car work for him, this Audi RS3.
Jason Engel here, and it's a matter, does he get any kind of substantial tow? And it looked like Engel a little bit better into the braking zone, and able to open that gap up. So Colin now just threading the needle down through this section of track. Here we go.
Here he comes.
Got a nice run. He's up alongside.
Had to lift there at corner exit. He was about to run into the back of Engel. One thing that drivers were talking about as they go through Variante Alta, very, very tight. The drivers were talking a lot about the BOP between these cars. They all make equivalent lap times. The big difference is the Audi has the DSG gearbox, which means it does not have a clutch pedal. It gets really good launches. It also has much, much shorter gearing, which could be helpful, could be hurtful depending on the racetrack. As McHugh goes down the inside, or outside rather, Engel's protecting, and McHugh takes the spot, puts Engel out. Here comes Crawford now.
And that was a beautiful run by McHugh as he just stayed patient, worked the line. You can see he got a little bit better exit on one of the preceding corners and just never lost that little edge. Really some smart driving. Boy, Crawford's in a great seat here.
Sun in the eyes and a position on the horizon. Needs 2 of them to transfer.
Ooh.
Awkward
Problem
corner
there for McHugh. Yep. Engel's going to try and pop to the outside. Can't quite get it done, but look at that. That let Crawford come right through.
Opens the door.
He had the double trap, but he just couldn't get his nose in there, Kyle.
Oh, big curb hop for McHugh. That's going to open the door for Crawford. If he can go driver's right here and get a good enough run out of Tossa, he'll be in a great spot. Crawford overdrives there on the entry just a little bit. Brake lights from McHugh. He's struggling in the corner exit, but again, that shorter gearing of the Audi pulling that car out of the corner in relation to the 55 Honda.
Parks that 55 of Crawford, at least for the time being here. There's nobody up in front of these guys that they're going to catch and affect their race, so it's really mano a mano for this last transfer spot.
Oh, big dive on the brakes from Crawford. McHugh's got only a couple corners left that he needs to navigate, but he's going to have to do it while watching the mirrors to see if Crawford's going to throw it down the inside in the last couple of corners. Nice chicane, but Crawford gained a little bit here.
Yeah, he did. A little bit of a curb hop by McHugh. Had to wait for it to settle a little bit. Crawford got a little bit of a run.
Into the last two corners. Here comes Crawford on the inside. There's almost a touch there. Oh, there's a touch, and McHugh's going to slide Crawford up the inside here, Greg. Final corner.
And either Crawford had to slow down enough to save it, or he was being gentlemanly and let McHugh back through, but then he let two more go through.
So McHugh is
nicely aggressive pass attempt, but he backed off and let McHugh get it.
Yeah, McHugh is going to cross the line. He will finish in 10th and slide across the line. Engel and Lyons will just miss out as they all collide at the very end there. Tom O'Gorman wins the LCQ. He will come home and start in 31st place in the feature race. That's going to be a fun one. But now it's for the big beans here, Greg. We're going for prizes from Recaro. Top three will earn prizing because of Recaro, and everyone in the chat is going to get a chance to win something from BC Racing. It's time for our fourth trivia question. GRIDLIFE drive. Hey, this is actually Tomo related. This is perfect timing for him to win the LCQ. Right. Tom O'Gorman won 2 races in his 2019 TCR season. How many other races did he win in the TCR class in IMSA? Do you know that one, Greg?
I have a guess, yeah.
Okay.
I have a guess.
We'll wait for that to drop into chat here.
Okay. While we're waiting, we had talked about how this was such a center for automotive production.
Yep.
Well, it's also one of the richest regions in Italy with regard to its gastronomic and winemaking tradition. Check this out. From Emilia-Romagna, we get prosciutto. We get Parmesan cheese, Parmigiano Reggiano from Parma. And only in the Emilian cities of Modena and Reggio Emilia is balsamic vinegar made, that awesome balsamic vinegar. And it's a legally binding traditional process that it can only be made in those 2 cities.
That is some really
cool trivia.
Yeah, that's some great trivia there. I like that. But the real trivia is in the chat again. It was how many races did Tom O'Gorman win outside of his 2 wins in the 2019 season? I am looking at the YouTube chat. Greg, you want to take your guess?
I'm going to say 4.
Okay. And the answers are popping through the chat. We'll wait until Sean selects some, but we are gridding up for the feature race. And this is going to be a very deep field. Here's a look at your starting lineup on the left as they grid. Cobb, Corrence, Darling, Roberts, Alessandrini, the top 5. And this is going to be a huge run down to that first corner.
And remember, Corrence, the start that he got in his heat was off the charts when he split the entire front row. He's got it figured out. Let's see if he can pull it off again.
Only a couple seconds left here. And time to go racing in the feature race for the GRIDLIFE iRacers Winter Touring Car Classic, round number 3. Green flag, 20 minutes on the board. Heat racing is done. It's going for the win now. Austin Cobb gets a good launch. Corrence tries to crowd over on Darling. Can't get in the hole before Darling fills it in that 155.
Yeah, Corrence didn't light the tires up like Cobb did.
Oh, trouble.
Cobb had a good enough start and a tap right from the off, and around goes Roberts.
Yeah, Christopher Roberts and Alessandrini. Alessandrini goes for a slide in the first corner. He's going to have to cut the turn. He's going to have to give up some more time, but dramas as they head down into turn 1. Look at O'Gorman sliding through the field. He's gained a whole bunch of spots, gets tagged. He's through to 19th, up 12 spots in the first turn.
That's incredible. And, yeah, got that tap, but was able to save it.
Wow.
Look at that now. Cobb with that clear start. Then Corrance, Darling, right up there in Barnes. A good launch as well.
Driving up the road to the next left-hander here. The answer to the trivia question, by the way, 2 other races, won 4 total in IMSA. VIR Road Atlanta in 2018, Daytona and Sebring in 2019. Answer to the trivia there. But look at Cobb now out front, leading the race, but Corrance and Paul Darling. Corrance was kind of the thorn in the side of Alessandrini. Touch and crash. Darling and Barnes get together.
Looked like Darling just ran a little wide when he saved it. He collected Darling, or
Barnes there.
Barnes, yeah.
Oh.
Right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some error there. Tony Hawk would be proud of that for at least a
Fortunate
minute.
not to go over. Yeah, exactly. The guy you feel a little bit for is Roberts, who had started right up in the sharp end of things and now sits in 10th.
So lap 1, with all the dramas in the first sector, I think we've cleaned it up just a little bit. 4 drivers out: Mark Sarchevitz, Jason Breen, Michael Montello, and David Kramer. The rest are all still rolling, and Paul Darling is going to peel off and hit pit lane, perhaps some damage that is irreparable, at least from the cockpit. Can't do anything about it. He'll have to come on down. Maybe there's suspension knocked out of alignment or a meatball flag there. But that will end Paul Darling's race, and he was second last week at Watkins Glen, so that's going to be a huge hit in the points. He was one of only 2 drivers, Greg, that has finished top 5 in both races so far. Here's Anthony Montello in the number 50 car. Luke Tucciarone right behind him in the 32. DJ Alessandrini shuffle out on that opening corner, has now fallen to 7th, has Matt Waldbaum in the ASM car behind him. And Montello under fire from the 32. Oh, and Montello slow, and there's a crash. Barnes out of control, and wow, more cars involved in this. What happened to Montello? Just came to a stop there and triggered a crash. Not sure what that was all about, but trouble continues.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate. Obviously, something was wrong. He knew it. He pulled over, but he did it right in front of a pack that were trying to make some passes, and it really bit a lot of people. So
here's a look at Tom O'Gorman. Started 31st. He is up to 14th in a lap and a half. What a climb by Tomo. And he's still working on Andrew Little now in the number 68, Anthony Montello, Zach Rubin. But with a little bit of the carnage that we've seen, he's been able to expertly navigate around it. A little bit of scrapes and bruises on that car, but it's not slowing him down.
Well, you come from that deep in the field, you're going to have some war wounds to be sure, but nothing that has taken him out of it being a really quick race car. And, you know, one of the things, I actually watched in a Trans Am race, Stu Hayner, many years ago at Watkins Glen. He started in the back of the field because he had a problem in qualifying, and he ended up taking 3rd. And, you know, normally the farther up you get when you're overtaking cars, the tougher the passes become. And he was just dropping guys with monster names with no problem at all. And he said, I just got so used to passing people in the early part of the race, I had confidence that I could pass anybody. And so Gorman making that level of passes, you know he's up for the challenge now.
So is DJ Alessandrini. Big defensive maneuver on Luke Tucciarone in the 32. I've noticed this, though, the last couple of weeks, DJ, again, sort of locking horns with one competitor in particular. It was Matt Corrance at the Glen, and so far tonight it's been Luke Tucciarone, where he just can't seem to shake him and gets kind of tangled up and loses ground to those in front.
Well, you get a couple of guys that are definitely hard fighters, and they're not going to take any quarter, and they're not going to give any. And that's kind of what you see. I was sort of thinking that we've seen some really good pace. Oop, and DJ, a wild ride. Does he keep it out of the barriers? He does.
Uncharacteristic mistake by Alessandrini. Again, this has been a tough series
totally.
for him, for sure. Drops a tire in the grass, and that sends him out wide. DJ Alessandrini uses virtual reality to compete here in iRacing and was having a little trouble with it lately, so perhaps that is contributing to this inconsistency. But again, he's been pretty much unstoppable in everything that we do. It wins dozens and dozens of races and championships, but this season has been I wouldn't want to say one to forget, but it has certainly been a slow start for the number 5. We still have 5 races left to go after this, but still plenty of time to get there, but it's been tough.
Yeah, it's been a struggle for sure, and you're right. I mean, he is just such a true racer in every sense and wickedly quick. And I'd been thinking that with the pace we've seen in the previous 2 rounds from Waldbaum, both of them starting a little bit farther back, and they work together, they're going to be able to come up through the pack smartly. But as you said, Tucciarone obviously had other ideas.
Oh, there's some contact, and Tucciarone is going to spin off the nose of Roberts in Tamburello.
Roberts was the one who got tapped at the very start and dropped so far back, so he's got a little red mist going, trying to come back up through the field. There goes Tomo.
Up to 13th now in the 94 car. And for the race lead, Austin Cobb now defending from race 1 winner, round 1 I should say, at Monza, Matt Corrance. I think Italy is this 42s with the pace that we've seen. But still 3 tenths back.
He likes it here. Now we know Cobb has really good speed. When you take a look at that time he set in qualifying. So if he just drives his pace and doesn't get too caught up with how close Corrance is, Cobb certainly has a shot at it here.
Oh, nailed the curb there on the apex, climbing the hill. That's going to hurt him on the straightaway. The other thing I should note is that they are 3.2 seconds ahead of third place Marc-Antoine Blaise. So they have a little bit of room to race amongst themselves without having to worry about pressure from behind. That could change towards the end of this race, but as of now, they're clear and free to race each other a little bit without consequence of being attacked from third or fourth.
It's a good-looking graphic on Blaise's car, isn't it?
Certainly does have a good-looking livery. The kind of digital camo, the blue and black.
Yeah, absolutely. And giving it a nice ride because although he's, 3.5 seconds adrift of Corrance, he's also a couple seconds clear of Clark. So he's driven a really, really smart race here at this stage. Ooh. Then it's Clark, then Waldbaum, and then there's this scrum. Ooh, it's a 71 at Carwile.
Carwile and Ruben collide, and Ruben's the car that we're looking at now, the red and blue. Carwile on the outside, the kind of maroon and white, and that will let Tomo slip into 10th place. This is a climb like we haven't seen in a long time in GridLife iRacers. 21 spots in 5 laps. Make that 4 complete laps here at Imola. What an unbelievable drive.
Yeah, it's 21 spots in, 8 minutes? That's just unbelievable.
And we're still far from over. I was going to say 12 minutes left, not even halfway through this race. He's 18 seconds back from the leader, so I think that's a bit too tall of a hill to climb, but he could get up to Alessandrini or others. That's only 6 or 7 seconds.
Yep, well, he's glued to the back a little right now. Hop on board with him. Got a nice exit.
Door opened.
Jukes down to the inside.
Doesn't even bother to knock. Yep, just drives right on through. And Roberts right behind, door to door as they climb up the hill.
Roberts has to be frustrated, obviously. He started 4th, dropped way back when he got hit at the start. It comes up, and that little bit extra contact dropped him back once again.
DiPietro and Carwile. This is really dicey. 14th and 15th place. The 32 of Luke Tucciarone. He's on a mission to recover after that slip up in turn 1 a little while ago off the bumper of, contact there. Gives a shot to the rear bumper of DiPietro.
Yeah, it just launched him up out of Aqua Minerale. Every tool in the quiver here. Here we are into Variante Alta. The by far the tightest chicane on the track.
Really got to slow down. You used to be able to straight line it a lot more here in iRacing. You could get all 4 tires up on the curbs. They decided that was a bit too much racetrack to give everybody, and they increased the penalty there, and that's what is frustrating a lot of drivers tonight. It hasn't been as big of an issue as I thought it would be. I thought it would get more of our drivers up front, as they're typically the ones kind of exploring the edge and the limits of the track. But tonight it hasn't been that big of a deal. I think it did just catch Montello out, though, as Tomo moves into 8th.
Yep, slices around him. Up next, Pennington.
Yeah, running
then I think it's a big gap from Pennington to Alessandrini.
Yeah, 6.8 from Pennington up to DJ. And like this livery, partial to it, painted this to use on the all the promotional material for this season. I spent a couple hours on this one day at work. I got a pretty cool job, Greg, painting cars for a simulator. I could think of worse things to be doing for sure.
Absolutely, and it looks great. Really, really does. So
I was told to use some drift inspiration. I appreciate that. So I went and found some drift cars and found some graphics I liked and rebuilt them and put a little metallic fade on that. It looks really good, I think. But
no, it's just up to Tomo not to add scratches to it.
Well, there's been plenty of these things scratched over the last couple weeks. I'm not too worried about this one, that's for sure.
All right. Just dropping down into that hollow and then picking that. Look at that. Just floated so much speed. And that's what I'm talking about. When you use that compression right, you can get to the throttle just that bit sooner. And he was up alongside him before they even really got out of the corner.
Ooh, that was a bit of a tight cut.
Yeah.
And did he get away with it? He did.
Did.
Oh, did they? I can't tell. Sometimes the drivers will wait a little longer to serve the slowdown there, but he might have. That was a pretty big jump, but looks like they're going to give it to him. Up front, half a second is the difference. Cobb and Matt Corrence. Cobb has led every lap so far, Greg. Do you think Corrence has anything for him? Is he biding his time, or do you think he's been giving it all he's got?
I think he's been saving tires just a little bit here. I think he's just been letting Cobb lead here, just sitting in his draft, saving a little fuel, saving tires. We haven't really seen him attacking yet, and I think he might be getting ready, saving it for those last 5 minutes and hoping he's got a little bit better tire than Cobb has.
That was one of the conversations I had with Alessandrini about, how you be fast in these cars. After only a couple of minutes, you can really start to overheat the front tires. They take 2 or 3 laps to work into working temp, and then if you punish them, it takes about 3 or 4 laps before they start to hate you, and then you wish you had a rear-wheel drive car because all the front tires are doing everything. They're accelerating, braking, turning. You're really just dragging around the rear end to keep it off the ground. So there's not a lot that those rears are doing, and sometimes it's tricky to get heat in the rears and tricky to get heat out of the fronts after a couple minutes.
Yeah, you actually would the handbrake that you use in the car for these standing starts in a real one of these TCR cars, you'll drag that every once in a while to try and get some temp into those rears if you need it. But obviously all concern is up at the front of these cars because of exactly what you said. It does everything and it takes every load.
Now in iRacing, there actually is the handbrake. We do have those, and drivers can decide to map any axis on their controllers or their wheels and pedals to that handbrake. I don't know if anyone has used them to heat up the tires, but if they have not and didn't know you could do that, Greg, I bet we'll see that next week. Everyone dragging around the rear tires to try to get some heat in them.
Just a little, yeah. You can't do it too aggressively because you don't want to flat spot them, but you can make that tire load up pretty heavy, and thus get some heat in it here. We just saw first little shake from Cobb.
Pressure him into a mistake. 6 minutes left. Yep. Bit of a curb jump there.
And Corrence as well ran that little bit wide exiting that. So now they're starting to up the game a bit here.
And they're safe. 6 seconds back to Blaze. Corrence again showing the nose, making
but
Cobb
you see
check
that?
the mirrors.
He showed the nose, but no big lunge.
Yeah, it's just to get the drivers ahead looking up in the mirrors, Greg. It's just a distraction tactic. You can also flash the headlights. There's a dive into Tossa, and now he's got overlap.
Got some overlap, but that wider line allows Cobb to just have that little bit of extra juice coming out of the turn, and he just squirts right back into the lead. And I think right now, Corrence, even that little lunge, it wasn't so aggressive. It was taking anything out of the car, the tires. And I think he's just starting to now explore some options as we're coming up on that 5 minutes to go mark.
Yeah, I think the Audi, again, climbing out of Tossa on the uphill section, the Audi's shorter DSG gearing is certainly helping it get out of that dig. And the Honda is struggling there just a little bit, but it doesn't struggle in some of the switchback sections, and Corrence is right back to Cobb's rear bumper here. 5 minutes to go, and it's a 2-horse race for first place. And Corrence, I think, is a little quicker. He's keeping Cobb on his toes here looking in the mirror.
He definitely is. They now have 6 seconds back to Blaze. So looked inside, popped outside, now tucks right back in again. Nice job down through Ravazza. Double apex left. Ooh.
Grab the sand there a little bit on exit. That'll slow him down.
Did.
Use every inch of the racetrack if you can. Here's a battle. Pennington in the 47. Roberts in the 8. This is for 9th place.
Roberts just trying to come back through as best he can down to the inside of Pennington. Does Pennington use that outside line? No. Roberts has that tighter inside line, and Pennington has to tuck in.
Andrew Little just behind in the 68 car. all in a 3-car battle for third place. But we can't peel our eyes too far off the lead because they are still nose to tail, and this is going to get very spicy very quickly. I know the second I cut away, Greg, they're going to be door to door and jumping around, bouncing off each other, all sorts of chaos. This is why we love touring car racing. These cars sometimes feel like they're built out of a solid block of steel. You can really lean on each other in the last couple minutes of the race.
Absolutely. It makes it really, really fun. They're sturdy, so you can get a little brazen and get away with it. There you can see the margin that these guys have back to blaze at this stage. Look at that light glinting, the sun low in the sky now, so the track losing temperature.
We didn't actually touch on temperature at any point tonight, but the track temp is down to 74 degrees, which is very cool for iRacing. They qualified at about 115-degree track temperatures. So big difference, big grip gain for those drivers tonight. They'll be happy about that in the last couple minutes when they need it the most. And here is Josh Rodig in the 40, attacking the 34. This is for 17th place.
Yep, no matter where you look here, just great battle side by side. A lot of respect right there between those two. It would have been really easy to turn in and hit each other.
Alfred Rodriguez getting a great view out the windshield. And also a good run as they go side by side again. Now here, if I'm Rodriguez, I lay back a little bit because that might happen here. Or into Variante Alto, they're going to slow each other down. But Rodig gets through, and so does Rodriguez.
Yeah, it was a nice read by Rodriguez.
DiPietro also sees opportunity here. We'll dive to the inside of the 34. And when the drivers smell blood in the water, the Sharks come out to eat. Alex Artea is here too, yep. Oh, Artea to the inside and tags the 34. They get back straight though, Greg. Great driving there, great corrections.
What a save. Yeah, that was spectacular to hang on to it. Then still was offline a little bit, paid the price running wide there. But again, we've seen some great saves today.
Back up into the top 5 or just on the edge of it, Rob Clark in the Lego car. Alessandrini right behind in the hybrid racing Civic. It's taken DJ a long time to fight back for this position, and he's got about a lap and a half left to do it. We'll be coming to the white flag next time by. DJ's close. Tomo's 8.3 seconds back. I don't think he'll get there unless these two tangle.
Yep, that was just going to say the only thing that's going to bring him up into this is if there's an incident here, and DJ would just, if he does get it done, he wants to do it clean, obviously.
He's right here, and again, you can use that slipstream coming to the white flag, but just be aware that the driver behind you might use it again out of that final corner coming to the checkers. So a bit of a chess match and strategy here. This is, we've had a lot of big tracks to open up our season, Greg, but starting with Detroit next week, we're going to go to a lot of tracks that you can't rely on the slipstream as much as you have the first 3 weeks. You're going to have to get a lot more creative with how you make passes and where you set them up.
Yeah, exactly. And, like at Detroit, it doesn't have near the top end here, so the aero on these cars is not going to be working at max efficiency, so you've got to get a setup on them that's going to give you a little bit better mechanical grip. You can't just rely on this aero.
This time through, white flag for the race leaders. Austin Cobb and Matt Corrence lead the way to the stripe one more time around Imola, and Matt Corrence is on the attack on Austin Cobb. Cobb goes defensive into Tamburello, and Corrence has a great run here, Greg.
He does, but right there he couldn't get to the outside. Now he's going to try and swing to the outside, and he got a great run. However, the problem is eventually you got to turn left up here. Does he stick it around the outside? He does. He's through.
Corrence takes the lead from Cobb on the final lap here into Tossa. Does Cobb have anything to respond and take the lead back that he's led every lap so far, but he might not lead the last one. Here they come. The Audi's got the dig out of Tossa.
All right, here's this big, big run. He's up on the outside shoulder here, up and over the rise, down into Piratella. Piratella, excuse me.
Corrence has the inside line here for the next two right-handers, and Cobb is going to have to set him up for the exit. Slide.
Now, he's got to run, and this is where you said that Audi can be really strong.
He's got overlap. He's got it. Now the run to Variante Alta for the final time. Door to door, side by side for the race lead, Greg.
This is fantastic, and Cobb gets through clean. Now here comes Corrence. Tries the outside, then tries the cutback. Cobb just floated it beautifully through there, Kyle. He's still hanging on to it.
2 corners left. Corrence right behind Cobb. He had the lead for a half a lap. He needs it back in the last 2. Here at Imola, WTCC round 3 of 8. Cobb goes defensive, slide and a touch. They make contact in the final corners, Greg, as they come out of the last turn, coming back to the checkers. More contact.
Here's the blast out of 18. Ravazza now the run up to the flag. Cobb swinging way out, trying to get the move, but Corrence does not have quite enough, Kyle. Cobb brings home a big win.
Cobb gets it done at Imola. 1.13 seconds, 0.11 rather, gets it done. Cobb on the podium as well. Marc-Antoine Blaise 4th. Clark in 5th, it looks like. Alessandrini 5th, rather, as they came across the line. Clark in 6th, then Tom O'Gorman. How about Tomo? He's off the track already. 31st to 7th. That is a mega climb for the driver of the number 94. Then Roberts, Montello, and Pennington wrapping up the rest of the top 10. And more battles to the stripe. Carwile and Rubin bringing damaged and bruised machines back to the checkers. And look at this. Rodriguez and DiPietro to the line by 44 thousandths of a second, 17th and 18th.
Still scrapping. I love it. And let's give a shout out to the last guy on the lower step of the podium, Waldbaum. He started deep into the top 10 in that one and just kept coming up through the field. And late in the race, while we were watching that great battle with Cobb and Corrence, Waldbaum was able to sneak around Blaise and nab a step on the box.
Wow. Again, another scrap on the last lap to the checkers. Cobb and Corrence all clean and fair, leaning at each other just a little bit, but Cobb still got it done. Thought he might have lost it for a half a lap, Greg, and fought back to get that win.
Well, let's give some serious credit to Corrence. I mean, he could have easily given Cobb a tap. Yeah, he may have been caught out for it, but they raced each other incredibly clean with a lot of respect. There's Waldbaum up into 3rd, then Marc-Antoine Blaise and Alessandrini. A scrappy, as always, top 5.
Great stuff. Here's a look at your race results. Cobb, Corrence, Waldbaum, your podium winners. They're going to get prizing thanks to Recaro. Marc-Antoine Blaise in 4th. Alessandrini fights back for 5th after some dramas on the opening lap. Rob Clark, Tom O'Gorman, Roberts, Montello, and Pennington, the rest of the top 10. Here's a look at the rest of your results. A couple drivers I see in this list that really fought hard to get in this race. Max Baumann in the 44, one of them.
Absolutely. I mean, he was in that absolute war a couple of times. And, here's a thought, too, for Austin Cobb. He came into this race 12th in the points, and he'd lost 4 spots going into that second race. After that second race, he's going to rebound nicely here and get himself back into play. Good for him.
Down the rest of the order, a couple drivers that found some trouble. Tim Saunders had a great scrap in his heat race, ends up 29th and out of the race. And here's the list of drivers that wanted better days. Paul Darling, 2 top 5s in the first 2 rounds and out early in this one, Greg.
Yeah, that's really going to hurt. I mean, essentially came in 2nd in the points here, and that one's going to be tough to come back from. But as I understand it, you get a couple of drops in this, don't you?
Yeah, you get 2 drops out of the 8 rounds, so that will certainly be one of Paul Darling's drops. Can't repeat that, though. That'll start costing you a lot as you make your way through the rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly. You get those drops, but if you use them up early, then you're in real trouble and under the knife, to be sure. So take a look at, once again, that top 10. Great drives all, but, I mean, the battle at the front was superb. Waldbaum's just relentless pace. Alessandrini coming back. And then O'Gorman was at 31st to 7th.
31st to 7th, yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah, that's the only word we can use to describe that. Pretty fantastic stuff. The other driver that had a really good run, Matt Waldbaum, finishes 3rd tonight in his number 4 ASM Honda Civic. Matt, tonight, a pretty aggressive scrap there at the beginning. You were one of the survivors, came home and finished 3rd. Take us through your night. Had to be pretty wild there, especially at the end, fighting Marc-Antoine Blaise.
Yeah, pretty eventful night, and I think I definitely got the worst end of some of the course cuts. I had one at the start of the first race, and I had one at the start of this race. I actually had one in the middle when I was chasing down Mark, but I was able to bleed it pretty strategically down the front straight and be able to go after him. But I think I did a pretty good job salvaging the night. It was a ton of fun running with Rob and Mark and DJ there at the end.
How long did it take you to finally run down Marc-Antoine and be able to set him up?
Yeah, I mean, it took a good bit of time. I think a lot of the people at the top are pretty close together talent-wise. Right. So I was just sneaking up on the draft and just getting a little bit. And once I was able to get a good run on him, was able to get really close to him into turn 1, and then he was kind of a little bit off pace through 1 and 2, and I was able to kind of set the move up going into that second set of switchbacks.
Yeah, your patience was just superb. Just constantly working at it, and it paid off beautifully. Step up under the box.
Yeah, thanks guys. It's been a ton of fun.
Thanks, Matt. Congratulations. You'll be getting some information later on how to claim your prizing from Recaro as well. So congratulations on the podium. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. On now to our second place finisher. Our round 1 winner back at Monza, Matt Corrence, finishes P2. Mac, it was real close there at the end. You had the lead for half a lap after chasing Austin all race long. Came up about a 1/10 of a second short. What was it like chasing Austin, having that lead for a second, and then having to defend?
Well, I would have liked to have it over the line, but it was fun, considering the start was pretty interesting. I would have liked to see some of the fast guys up there, and I know Tom had some issues in qualifying. My teammate Emmett couldn't even grid, and he finally managed to go into a heat without getting used as a brake. So, I think a lot of fast guys had some issues, but I'll take it. It's always good racing with Austin. He's clean and aggressive, just like me, so that's how we roll.
And Mac, I want to ask you, for the first 3/4 of that race, were you just sort of just chasing Cobb, saving tires a little bit, and I wasn't seeing you doing much that was aggressive at all. It looked like you were really waiting until later into the race.
It was a combination of things, mostly that, but it was pretty hard to actually get a pass in. This track isn't the greatest for passing unless you kind of do a Hail Mary. I just kind of tried to run him down and make him look in his mirrors and see if that would work, and it did, and then it kind of worked on me when he did it to me. So,
well, it was sure entertaining to watch and to call. Thanks so much for that. Great drive today, man.
Thank you. Can I do a shout out quick?
Sure can.
Sure.
Well, first of all, I'll give it to you guys for probably another amazing broadcast that I'm going to go rewatch. It's nice having you along, Greg, and Kyle doing a kick-butt job as always.
Yes, he does. That's for sure.
And I'd like to give props to Henley Honda, who's come on with us. It's my local Honda dealership, so that's kind of cool. They see enough of the broadcast, they felt it was cool to come on, which you're now pointing at, which is even cooler, which is why you guys are the best. And a shout out to my teammate Emmett, who finally had a good qualifying position and then had a mechanical issue, let's call it, with his keyboard.
Good stuff, Mac. Hey, thanks so much for joining us. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
It's glitchy electronics.
We'll move on now to Austin Cobb, who got it done, gets his first win of the WTCC season. Austin fighting back that last lap, lost the lead. Might have thought it was over there for a couple corners, but got it back, fought hard until the very end, had a couple pushes and rubs there at the very end. But, man, how much are you sweating after defending Mac from that battle at the end?
Oh, man, I kind of figured it was going to come down to that after, the first 3 laps go by. It's just me and Mac, and I saw him back there poking around, figuring out where he was going to make the move, and I knew it was going to come on that last lap, and I kind of knew it was going to come in that first sector because I don't know if I roasted my front tires or what, trying to run away from him, but he was just crushing me through there. But, yeah, hairy last lap, real fun, real clean, respectful, great racing with Mac. My heart was pumping, but that was just a great time. Even if I'd have got second, I would have been happy, but even better to come away with a win.
Well, and you must have known you had pace after that qualifying run that you put up. When he got by you, did you have that spot in mind where you're going to try and take him, or was it wherever an opportunity showed up?
Yeah, honestly, obviously I didn't get much door-to-door racing in the heat race, so didn't have a lot of experience with where I really wanted to defend from. I knew he was kind of showing the inside into that second chicane in the first sector, so I decided to defend that and just go from there. Just dealt with what I had. I know the Audi has good drive. I don't know the corner numbers, but coming into that gnarly narrow chicane at the back half of the track, I knew that my only chance was to be on his outside and compromise his line into the double apex right-hander, and it just happened to work out. Just barely, but it worked out.
It worked out beautifully. Congratulations. Big win, and it's going to bring you right back up in those points, man.
Absolutely. That was a good time. Thanks to both for announcing for us, and can't wait to see y'all next week.
Great job, Austin.
Likewise.
Congratulations, and we'll see you next week. Good luck to you.
Alrighty, thanks.
All right, Greg, we'll wrap it up there. Wow, another great last lap battle. This series has not disappointed us yet. I don't think it will. It's just been so much fun. Deep in the field, some dramas here and there. Tomo fighting from the back. That was fun to watch. But again, two drivers that just separated themselves from the rest of the field and were able to make it their own race, and it came all the way down to the wire as it has the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, just spectacular stuff. And, as we said, Cobb with that qualifying run, the only guy to get underneath a 54. We knew he had speed. Corrins had that lightning start in his race, jumping from third, splitting, and getting up into the lead and bringing it home. So we knew those guys were going to be serious up front. I didn't think that we'd have two guys check out quite like that, but it sure made it compelling because they were just locked together in those last few laps. And then all that other battling you were talking about, just classic Grid Life winter series racing.
Really excited to bring you the next round next week. From Detroit, Belle Isle, Greg, we're going street racing on the bumps and bruises of the Belle Isle street circuit. That's going to be a blast, but definitely a different challenge than the first 3 rounds that we've had so far.
Well, those track limits are really clearly defined by concrete walls, and Belle Isle is a fun track. It's racy. It's got some good overtaking opportunities, but you always have that those walls ever present. And watching these little TCR cars with the power to weight they have, they're going to be little rockets around that place. It's going to be a blast.
A lot of fun next week. Detroit, Belle Isle, round number 4 of the GridLife iRacers Winter Touring Car Classic. We'll see you there from Detroit next week on Tuesday, 9/8 Central. Kyle Heyer with Greg Creamer. We'll see you next week.